Okay, limiter straps on the Can-Am Maverick Sport. Didn't think I'd need something like this, but I do. I have the suspension kind of the ride height cranked up. So what's happening is I'm getting dropout really quick because I got the shock therapy springs on this. So you have a lot of spring there and it drops out quick when you're on uneven terrain and it makes a clunk. And what's happening is the shock itself is extending and it's using the internal stop on the shock to stop itself from dropping out. So you get a lot of clunking. At first I thought it might have been the shocks or the cup or something, but I wasn't sure, so I went and bought limiter straps for the front. And I put them on and it took the clunking away. It stopped the suspension from dropping out and no more clunks. It's also going to save my shock, and if it does go, I think the CV joints are going to go after that. It'll just blow that whole front end apart. I think they have trouble with this on machines in the dunes where they're jumping a lot. They come up off the ground and the extra weight of the tires and everything drops out and it blows their shocks apart. So you'll see limiter straps on that, but you don't see them much for rough terrain, which is what I got. Medium speeds, not going real fast, but the problem is I'm on uneven terrain and a lot of times there's a tire off the ground. And if you go over something quick, I'll hear thunk, and then it'll go thunk on the other side. I wasn't sure about the back. I didn't hear it much, but once I put the limiter straps on the front, I started hearing the thunk coming from the back. So I ordered up some limiter straps for the back, and that's what we're going to do today. We got limiter straps from Super ATV. They seem pretty affordable. There wasn't a whole lot for this machine, but they're pretty nice. They got a little steel, like kind of like bushing on there, stitched up pretty good. It's a pretty solid strap. It's working good in the front. And for spacers, because you go and you get new bolts, new flange bolts. So they're much bigger. For reference, the stock ones are about this big. The ones I'm swapping out to are, quite a bit bigger. And the reason being is these are steel bushings, 1 inch OD, like 1/2 inch inside diameter. They fit on there pretty good. We got one, I think this is 1.25 inches. I got another one that's 1 inch. I'm using this as a spacer like that to hold these straps away from the suspension itself. And it seems to be holding up really good in the front. So, this project was a lot more than I thought it was going to be. I figured back shocks, easy peasy, easy to get at. Not so much. If you plan on doing this, watch the video. It'll save you some time because I figured out some stuff, made quite a few. I had to figure it out, let's put it that way. So if you plan on doing this, watch the video. It'll save you a bunch of headaches and time. So here you are in the back. It's the top of the shock, the bottom down there, and we got the bigger spacer because we got to clear the spring there. It's much closer. Up top, I went with a smaller spacer because there's not as much to clear. The cup down here and the spring is there. Up top here, you don't have to come as far out, and the straps have a little bit of a bend to them. You see that there? So that holds it away a little bit too, which is nice. There's a shot of what it looks like up front. I don't know if you'll be able to see up in there, but there it is underneath. And it seems to give it plenty of clearance. That limiter strap isn't really anywhere near the suspension. I haven't had any problems with it so far. Alright, all we gotta do to get the shock off is jack the machine up till the tires come off the ground a little bit, and then we're going to pull the top and bottom bolts to remove the shock. The bolt itself is 19 millimeters and the nut in the back is 18. Okay, when I pulled the shock, I noticed that this little rubber washer, which this bushing sits in, it's coming loose. So I'm going to try and push that back in there while I have this apart. Okay, so we ran into a little problem here. This is how I was doing them, with the threaded part to the inside, but when we get up here, the strap doesn't reach. So I gotta kind of set the machine down to get the suspension to compress, but then you got to get that back on there. So at the top, I think I'm going to flip it around. Not sure if I'll cut it off or not yet. I really wanted to put it the other way just to make it look clean, but I don't know how easy that's going to be. I suppose I could get the shock compressor out and do it that way, but it seems like a lot of work just to have a bolt facing the right way. But it might be an option if you want to do that, and I still might. So this still didn't go. Still missing it by quite a bit. Inch and some change. So what I did is I jacked the machine up quite a bit. It's, you know, off the ground, trying to compress that side, and no beans. Might have to get a spring compressor out no matter how I do this. So this is the new plan. We're just going to try and jack that one wheel up. Okay, so that didn't work either, so don't bother with that one. It was a lot closer, within a half an inch, but even with me hanging on the side of the machine, didn't want to drop. So try 3. Okay, so I finally got it. The spring compressor didn't work. What we had to do is this right here. You jack this up, and I hang off the side of the cage of the buggy, put my feet onto rock bars, and I jump on it, and my wife came out and put the strap on. So it's a 2-person project. Okay, here on the other side, we ran into a new dilemma, because when we put this strap on, it's 20 inches, and the drop suspension with nothing on it is 21.5 inches, which is a ½ inch less than the front, which was 22. So the website says to subtract 2 inches, but on the forums and the reviews it said to subtract 1 inch. So I put a 21 in the front, which is 1 inch less than what the suspension dropout was, and it was fine. But back here, I figured, well, I'd rather be a ½ inch up than a ½ inch too long, because then that would defeat the purpose of the limiter straps. But when I got that side on, there is a torsion bar or a sway bar that connects them both. So the dropout is no longer the same. So we had to put a bottle jack in here, up off the frame, down to the tires, to get this to drop, to get the bolts in and out, and back in. So be aware of that. Well, they're on. I was thinking this was going to be a lot easier than the front, but it took about 3 times as long. So there you have it. I'll do some reviews on this once I go out, run it for a bit. I am going away for a 4-day trip. I've been slacking off lately just due to, because it's been 90 degrees up here and I'm in Maine. So that's way too hot for me to go out after working all day and run this thing around. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching.